Mark is a chief operating officer that I know, and he's a very seasoned senior executive leader. And he's been getting a lot of feedback recently about a challenge with his leadership communication performance. It's a challenge of vocal fillers, ums and ahs. When Mark speaks, even in a casual conversation, it's like this: "Hello, how is it? What are you doing?" He knew he had a problem with this, but had not realised how bad it had become. And this was not only distracting to others, it was taking away from his sense of personal professionalism. So vocal fillers are a particular issue that has to be dealt with if they have become a monumental distraction or they are highly repetitive across a range of communication performances. They come in lots of different kinds: ums, ahs, ers, the overuse of certain words like, and, but, so, right, you know, okay. All of us have vocal fillers from time to time. The moment of, a pause or a hesitation. That's not an issue. The only problem here is if they become an endemic pattern in our speech and often across multiple languages. Well, I've been asked, are there some tips to help me deal with this? The answer is yes. Because the challenge of vocal fillers is that they take away from our sense of presence. And interestingly, in this current world where we've got a lot of virtual communication and where the sound is more intensified through our devices, those of us that have lots of these repetitively have got problems, because at the end of a sound podcast or a telephone call, the sounds, the ums and the ahs are very pronounced. So what is the issue here? If you look at my chart, you'll see the line represents talk and the circles represent breathing. We talk, we breathe. We talk, we breathe, we talk, we breathe, we talk, we breathe. When we do that, when we breathe, we take a distinct pause. However, when we have a lot of repetitive vocal fillers, what happens is we talk, we take a shallow breath, and then we talk again, and then take a shallow breath. And that takes away from our sense of voice modulation, so it makes our voices flatter and more monotone. We also don't get the benefit of the diaphragmatic breathing. So are there some tools and techniques? The answer is yes, and there are 5 particular ones that I'd point your attention to. The first is set your objectives to solve this problem. And those objectives need to be realistic. It is not the wholesale elimination of these. It is a dramatic reduction of these across your speech patterns, either in conversation or in presenting or speech making. Secondly, begin what we call an awareness campaign. 28 days at least of just listening to yourself intensely in conversations to hear this. This is required to resensitize the brain to how frequently these are occurring. In my research work, I found that people who don't solve this problem skip this step. They haven't resensitized the brain enough to be taking account of the ums or the ahs or the repetitive vocal filler words. Thirdly, prepare to get feedback on the 3 to 5 months that you'll be working on this problem. And you need 2 kinds of feedback. To get feedback from people, somebody at home, somebody at work, who's going to encourage you and give you feedback as to whether or not they're hearing a reduction in these. And then use a dictaphone or a dictaphone app to record yourself frequently. What else matters for helping reduce the frequency of vocal fillers? The most important technique is a technique called capture. It's a physical technique where we capture the or the ah or the or the vocal filler sound in whole or in part as it comes out of us. And we replace it with stop, pause, breathe. Let me demonstrate this, and I'll use Imagine I have a lot of sounds. I captured it and replaced it with stop, pause, breathe. And I continue on, and I'm going to capture the next one. Hop, pause, breathe. Now, I've had feedback with people who've worked with this technique to say for a few weeks, others have asked, do you have indigestion? Just say yes. Because after a few weeks of deliberate focus on this, what happens is that you start to anticipate the sound and it comes out in silence. I'm going to do this. Stop, pause and breathe. I might have another one. Stop, pause and breathe. And then I continue on. Stop, pause and breathe. And that, over 3 to 5 months, helps us reduce the frequency of these sounds. Then, to help train our brain and to reinforce that sentences and phrases are surrounded by pause silences, we read poetry aloud. You get a book of poetry, there are lots of anthologies available, short poems, and you use your dictaphone app or your dictaphone and you record yourself at least once a day reading the poem aloud. You read it aloud and you over-dramatise and elongate the fact that at the end of the poetry lines, there is a big silence. I look across the field. The meadow is in flower. The horse rides by. Its mane is high. As soon as I've read that out, I press stop on the recording, go back and re-listen to myself whilst reading the words along. This helps retrain ourselves around the fact that phrases and sentences are surrounded by silence. Obviously, as you get into any circumstance, you can work on dealing with vocal fillers by slowing down, by pausing, and by being more conscious of it. But these are habits that developed over a long period of time, and they require a process and system. Take these tips and try them. And if you want further information, I've got a lot of other material on leadership communication topics on my website.